One thing that drives me absolutely bonkers is when people say that chicken keeping is just expensive and that, it's hard to afford it and you shouldn't do it. And I'm like, are you crazy? People have been doing this for thousands of years. So instead of putting up roadblocks for people, why don't we come up with some fun ideas on how to save some money while keeping your chickens happy? So that's what I decided to do today. Isn't that right, honey? Hello, friends. Welcome to Chickenlandia. My name is Dahlia. I'm a backyard chicken educator, also known as the president of Chickenlandia. Raising chickens has been the best way for me to find peace and joy in my life, and I want to help you find that too. Okay, so this baby chicken, you are not happy. I'm not going to hold her for very long because she's not happy. Binky raised her, and she's pretty much grown up. She's pretty much joined the flock, and Binky is off doing her thing. But at night, she still sleeps under Binky's wing. Isn't that true, honey? We got to come up with a name for you. All right, I'll put you down. I love spoiling my chickens. I love buying them treats, grubs and mealworms. I've got this big fancy coop for them. But one thing that I will always say, and I really hope it gets through to everybody, is that chickens are highly adaptable. They do not need all the bells and whistles that I have done for my chickens. I mean, if you think about it, through the ages, chickens have been by our side. Through famine, through war, through natural disasters, and they have basically just adapted to our environment. It wasn't from the beginning we've been building coops for them, or that we've had pelleted feed for them. Those are all very recent things. And I'm not saying that they're bad things. I think it's great to have a chicken coop, but I love to keep the idea of how chickens have traditionally been throughout the ages as the foundation of my chicken keeping practice. I always try to remember that, because not only does it take, gosh, okay, that's better. Because not only does it take a lot of the stress out of chicken keeping when you remember how simple it's always been, but it also takes a lot of the cost out of it. So today I want to talk about just some fun ideas for some things that you can do for your chickens that are going to enrich their lives. It's going to help to keep them healthy, and it will also be good for you, okay? So one of the simplest things that you can do for your chickens that do not cost anything extra for you is to feed them some healthy kitchen scraps. Now, if you've been following me, you know how much of a fan of kitchen scraps I am, but I will always say keep them healthy. If your family is eating healthy, this is a non-issue. If you are only eating hot dogs and donuts, maybe you need to reevaluate some things. Even though they're good, hot dogs and donuts are good. So no judgment, but they're not exactly healthy for you to have that in an unbalanced way, and they're not healthy for chickens. So keep it balanced and go ahead and give your chickens some kitchen scraps. It is a great way to supplement the feed that you give them, and it will help to save money, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. All right, I'm gonna walk outside for this next idea because it is something I absolutely love to do, and it is so good for chickens, and it's so simple. I really like to pick dandelions for my chickens. And of course, dandelions, where I am, they're not available all year. We know that dandelion is a medicinal plant, and where I live, they are very prevalent. So it's just the most simple thing in the world that you can do is give your chickens these weeds that would probably get, either picked and thrown out, or they might get mowed down, or they might, they're just free and they might not get used. So make sure that they don't have any pesticides, no synthetic fertilizers, some of those are not good for them, and no herbicides or anything on them. So you just want to make sure that it's as natural as possible. Organic dandelions. Honestly, you can give your chickens all kinds of weeds. If you're worried about one of them, just do some research. Usually a quick Google search will help you to find out if they're good for your chickens. But yeah, I'll pick all kinds of weeds that I know are fine for them and give them to them, and they love it, and it's free. Okay, so I am walking outside of Chickenlandia again because there's something I want to show you. But first, I want to talk to you about another idea I have. It's a little bit controversial, and you know me, I'm not one to shy away from controversy. Chicken controversy. What I do, and certainly what I did when I was living on a smaller lot, is whenever my husband would mow the lawn, I would tell him to take those grass clippings and give them to the chickens. Put them in the chickens' enclosure, and they would go through them, and they would just have a heyday. The problem that some people have with this, and I understand it, it's a legitimate concern, is that, when chickens ingest all this long grass, that there is a danger of them getting an impacted crop. Like all that grass, that long grass, gets into their crop and gets impacted. What I will say is that chickens traditionally have had vegetation as a huge part of their diet. Whether they were living in the jungles of Malaysia or, now many chickens are out on pasture, which is really like where they're supposed to be. A chicken should be able to properly digest grass, like blades of grass. They've been eating that for millennia, plant fiber for millennia. If they can't digest it properly, it is likely they have another problem going on. And if it's happened more than once in your flock, I really would suggest just like reevaluating your chicken's nutrition. And also, if you are dosing antibiotics, if you're giving like your whole flock antibiotics, that can also change the flora in their crops. There's a lot of things that we do now that can alter that natural flora in their crops and make them more susceptible to impacted crop. But if it's, if you're too worried about impacted crop, don't do it, and don't feel bad about it. Just don't do it. If you don't want to take that risk, that is perfectly reasonable. Okay, I'm going into the woods of Chickenlandia. It is rumored that Bigfoot lives in here. It's actually outside of Chickenlandia. But one thing I love to do is come in here and find some nice fallen branches. And we live in an area where when it gets windy, the wind will really come through here. And we have lots of fallen branches. And what I do is I will take them and I will put them in the chicken yard because my chickens absolutely love that. And if you look at this environment, this is like a natural environment for a chicken. I think about the chickens in the jungle of Malaysia, like jungle fowl. What are they doing all day to keep them occupied? They're scratching the earth. They're scratching through the leaves. They're jumping on branches. So I like to provide natural branches for my chickens within their chicken yard. Doesn't cost me anything because I just find them. The other thing that you can do is when it's time to rake up leaves or pine needles, you can rake those up and throw them into the chicken yard. And the chickens absolutely love that. They love going through that. It's really good for them. And you can use, depending on the environment that you live in, what the weather is like where you are, you can use the leaves if they're nice and dry. Take them and put them in the nesting boxes. Use them as nesting material. You could possibly even use it as like bedding inside your coop. And if you can't get them where you live, maybe you can go, to a friend's house or go somewhere where you can have access to some of these things. And they are most likely going to be free. Okay. When I think about the problems that we can run into with our flocks, whether it be illness, parasite infestation, bullying, obsessive behaviors like egg eating and stuff like that. Every time somebody comes to me and says, I've got this issue happening, the first thing I think is, does your flock have enough enrichment? Because if they don't have enough enrichment, if they don't have enough stuff to do within their space that they have, they can get stressed out. And stress, just like it is for people, can cause a lot of problems. It can cause disease. So it's like this cycle that's really hard to get out of. But it is not hard to offer your chickens something to do, and to do it for very little money, okay? Okay, so one thing that's really important, we know that our chickens need a place to dust bathe. Usually they can find those in their natural environment. If you don't have that, a space for them to dust bathe in their natural environment, all you need is dirt. Find an old tub, put some dirt in it, okay? I do have like a dust bath recipe that I have, you know, that has like diatomaceous earth and wood ash in it and some herbs and stuff, but you don't need all that. All you really need is dirt, and you will be fine. The other stuff is just added stuff for extra parasite prevention, but you know, in a chicken's natural life, they would just find a dry spot with a lot of dirt in it, and that's where they would death space. So make sure you provide that within your flock's area, and it doesn't have to cost anything, okay? Whenever I bring up giving chickens kitchen scraps or other treats, I get some people that are concerned with like, you know, well, how much should I give them? What's a healthy practice for me to have? I do have a whole video about that that's really going to take a lot of that guesswork away from you. You know, it'll make things less stressful for you, which we love. That link to that video is on the screen right now. And of course, it's 100% friendly, backyard chickens, education and entertainment, and I know you're gonna love it.